Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon for another installment of the Georgian Alumni Speakers Series. My name is Kelly Pottage, and I'm the Associate Director of Engagement at Georgian, and delighted to welcome everyone into Smart Job Hunting in 2024, Trends, Tactics, and Truths. To get us started, please allow me to introduce Georgian's own Sean Elliott, who works with our co-op education and career success team as a career consultant and who will serve as a moderator today. He is joined by Georgian grads Hilary Anderson and Avery Konda, and I want to thank them for volunteering their time today to provide their opinions and wisdom. Sean is an innovative practitioner in higher education with a focused interest in educational, career, work-integrated learning, and student affairs disciplines. As a passionate and engaging professional, Sean loves to combine his sense of adventure with his joy at work. Sean has an extensive history working with career development initiatives, work-integrated learning programs in higher education, high school, and community employment settings. His former experience as a former career counselor in the school boards in Central Ontario and employment centers have helped him to champion programs for underrepresented and marginalized community groups. Sean, we're thrilled to have you join us, and we appreciate you serving as our moderator today. Over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. I am so excited about today's event and this series that's offered by the Alumni Network at Georgian College. As a career development professional, the topics we will be covering today on smart job hunting in 2024 are key questions for our existing students and new graduates. And recently I had the opportunity to sit down with both Hilary and Avery to plan for today. And we had a great conversation on the current industry trends, and I am looking forward to the conversation ahead. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our two panelists with whom we will spend some time this afternoon. First, we want to give a warm welcome to Hilary Anderson, class of 1991, who is the chair of the Georgian College Alumni Association Executive Council, an alumna of the Business Administration and Accounting program. Hilary currently serves as the Chief Human Resources and Support Services Officer at Your Neighborhood Credit Union. Hilary is skilled and highly strategic business leader, possessing a C-suite experience in strategy, operations, finance, human resources, technology, and business intelligence, and is committed to nurturing trust-based, transparent cultures to drive results. In her human resources role, Hilary provides strategic direction for developing and delivering HROD programs and services that enhance the organization's culture and engagement. Her expertise in aligning resources to the organization's mission, vision, and values, and reinforcing a solid organizational culture instills confidence in her strategic capabilities. Impressive. Welcome, Hilary.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we are also eager to welcome Avery Konda, class of 2017 and 2018, who serves as the Manager of Talent Solutions in Manufacturing and Logistics at Randstad Canada, and is alumnus of the Engineering Technology program and the General Arts and Science program in the Shaki Makan certificate. Avery is passionate about harnessing the power of business to drive positive change, connecting people with their ideal careers, and fostering impact everywhere. As the Manager of Talent Solutions for Manufacturing and Logistics at Randstad Canada, Avery is responsible for the complete recruitment cycle, utilizing a 360 approach to staffing management and talent outreach. His role also involves developing and implementing innovative recruitment strategies and building strong client relationships through initiative, networking, and a relentless drive for results.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
That's great. Good to have you both. Excited about what we are going to share. Thank you so much, Avery and Hilary. And so as we open our session today, we're going to be talking about the latest trends and best practices in resumes, interviewing, the rise of AI, and some key job hunting strategies there's a lot to pack into our short time together today, but I believe this is going to be an educational opportunity. We continue to build on that education, even with our alumni network. And I believe this is going to help us to keep growing in our professional practices and our future together. So I want to ask each of you to start us off about the tips and the tricks of resumes in 2024. What makes a good resume, and what makes you stand out? And how is AI changing resume writing? Hilary, can you get us started?
Sure. So what would I look for in a resume today to make it stand out? I think it's important that people highlight their specific skills and abilities and accomplishments. I am not interested in reading a job description from a job that you are currently in or have had in the past. I want to know, in that job, what did you accomplish? What did you learn? What skills have you acquired that are transferable to the job that you're applying to, if it was within my organization? With respect to AI, I completely understand the desire to use AI where possible to help support resume writing. I caution people to not allow AI to write your entire resume. It will read as if AI wrote the entire resume, and then I would question, can you write? And so I can let Avery expand perhaps on that, but I just, AI is a great tool to get you started, but I wouldn't rely on it 100%.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you, Hilary. Over to you, Avery. What are your thoughts on some of those topics?
Yeah, I think today, especially in the world we live in now, there are so many applications going out, and the best suggestion I can have for resume writing is you want to keep it as concise as possible. So when you're listing achievements, listing jobs, listing responsibilities, try to keep it to 2 to 3 bullet points per job. And then also highlight your unique value. I think what a lot of people miss on resumes is you might have worked a job, but you provided a value for that job in some way. So try to find out what that value is and then list that in as a responsibility or as one of the bullet points saying, I provided X value to this company, whether it was tangible, like increasing products, or whether it was something, a new project you brought. You always want to quantify that. Another one that I see on my end is doing recruitment is make sure you're using a professional format, especially for resumes. Things can get lost. They can get a little bit convoluted. Making sure you use a very concise professional format is going to help that stand out. And then you can tailor within that resume to add in, again, strong action verbs, unique value offerings, and what you really bring to the job itself.
Excellent. Thank you, Avery. So I'm hearing, highlight some things, keep it concise. You bring out some unique value that each of you bring to the table. Tailor, I like that word. Very, very good. So just moving on to the second question, Avery, could you share more about how AI, that artificial intelligence, is impacting the job searching and recruitment process in 2024? And what advice would you give to optimizing your online profile resumes for AI algorithms? Like what are some of the do's and the don'ts around that?
Yeah, so I think I'll start maybe with the don'ts to give some real good advice. I think when it comes to AI, it's helpful for many things, but it's also not helpful. I would agree with Hilary. I would caution people to use it for creating a resume. There are enough free resources, and if you have some extra money, some paid resources that really help you tailor and create a professional resume. I would spend time on the resume building it yourself, right? You can hire people to help as well, but I believe there's enough resources out there for resume builders and resume help. You can create a super professional, concise resume without AI. So I would say that is a don't, right? Build the resume with some of the online builder tools that we have already. Where I would say I think AI can absolutely help with the job search. it's hard when you have job boards. Job boards are great, but you have to list and look through so many jobs, and it's a lot of time for a job seeker. I was a job seeker before too. I went through it. And I think in the age of AI, it's helped personalize job recommendations a lot better. So there are tools that will build AI into the job search, and it will help filter jobs that are based on your skills to you. There's a lot of really good resources like that that will help you use less time finding the jobs. But then where it becomes important is when you're applying to the job, that needs to be more personalized, and a little bit more of a human touch needs to be built into it. So to kind of capsulate that, I think the do's are AI and in the job search absolutely can help with personalizing recommendations and bringing jobs to you. The don't is make sure you keep the personal touch with resume building and allowing you to showcase your skills through not the use of AI.
Amazing, amazing. That's good. Some good balance there. Hilary, what is your advice and thoughts on how AI is impacting job searching in 2024?
Yeah, that's a great, agree with everything Avery said. Those were great do's and don'ts. I think the challenge of AI is we've lost some of the ability to look at things from a personal individual perspective. And so if an organization is using AI to screen resumes, they're looking for particular buzzwords. And if they're not in your resume, even if you've got those skills, you're not going to pop out of the short list there. So I think it is important to tailor each resume to the application the job application that you're applying for. But again, not using AI, don't just make it full of buzzwords. As Avery said, be concise, but list what's your value to the organization with respect to some of the job functions they're looking for, and how has your previous experience done that? So I think it is important to be aware that employers are using AI to screen resumes. And so you do sort of have to individualize them, but again, you want to show your uniqueness too. So there's the balance.
Yeah, I like that approach, that balance perspective that you're mentioning. I'm curious for the two of you, is there a way, like you talk about the importance of tailoring and making it unique and bringing out your own personal perspective? Is there a way that you can combine AI in trying to communicate, what that personal experience looks like? Like we hear a lot about, where's the voice in someone's personal lived experience, and what do they bring into that? So could AI help someone in their communication with that?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a little bit old school. I'm going to say there's a first part to this. I believe that when you're building a resume, the best thing you can do to kind of encapsulate value or value add is seek a mentor or work with someone that can help you see it from a third perspective to help you list those skills. Where I think AI will help with that process is the resume. And if you have statements, run it through an AI system and see if it cleans up some of the language. And not putting in buzzwords, you have the bulk of it, but it can kind of help create the sentence structure maybe a little bit better. I found it helps with that, creating a little bit more concise language. But again, as Hilary had said, the challenge is a lot of the AI systems will use buzzwords for things. And when they do that, every person's using the same buzzwords. So you're going to get lost in the mass of resumes. So I would do a mentor first, build the value add, and then run it through an AI system just to kind of make the language a little bit more concise.
I like that idea of the mentoring, the connection, the personal side of, that personal filter, right? The human filter. Any other thoughts on that, Hilary?
Yeah, I love the idea of a mentor. I think, in having to write resumes, and even supporting my kids in writing theirs, we don't do a good job of talking about ourselves and all of the value that we add to an organization. So just being able to talk to someone about what it is you did and some of the accomplishments, as the dialogue with the mentor happens, more and more things will come out. And as Avery said, that will be extremely helpful in trying to highlight the things that are most applicable for the job that you are applying for and the transferable skills that you have.
Mhm, mhm. That's great. Thank you. You know, that's an important topic. And I know a lot of people here online are actually questioning, you know, what's the role going to be? And the stats are that, you know, the recruiting industry is going to be investing into this in the billions of dollars. So not only is it important for today in 2024, but I think we're going to continue to see more of that into 2025. So just shifting into the next topic, it's more around interviewing. And there seems to be a lot of anxiety around interviews. I mean, it's anxiety that's arising from maybe the fear of the unknown, not hearing back from employers, the uncertainty of maybe what's the real goal for the employer. What are they actually asking this question for, or not knowing what the question is going to be, and you know what's the real goal behind that, and maybe even the type of interview questions that might arise, or even the type of interview that is going to be taking place. So we want to explore this topic further and really dive into what recruiters and potential employers are looking for in an ideal candidate. So we'll start off, Hilary. Can you tell us a little bit more about what HR professionals are really looking for in an interview, in a person and or remote, and how a candidate can properly prepare to make themselves stand out from the field?
Sure. A couple of things. So I think the mentor idea that we talked about in relation to doing a resume, I think that's an important aspect when preparing for an interview as well. And although, you know, when you're having that dialogue about what you did at X place and all of your functions and what value you added, not all of it will make it to their resume, but it'll be fresh in your mind. And so you may be able to speak to it in an interview if appropriate. I think it's important when I'm interviewing for roles, what I want to see is I want to see someone who has spent some time researching the organization. I don't think they need to recite the names of the people in the organization, but they need to have a general understanding about the organization and how that organization fits into the grand scheme of that sector. I want people to be genuine and authentic. I know that interviews are stressful and I know that people get nervous, and that's okay. I want people to feel like they can take a breath, think about a response, and you don't have to be knee-jerk. What I really want to see is you, the individual. The other thing is, more and more we're interviewing, behavioral interviews are really popular, and there still are questions that will be on interviews that are behavioral, but we're actually interviewing now too for emotional intelligence, which I think everyone should read up on. It's critical, and I think more interviews are going to go that way. Someone with high emotional intelligence tends to get along well with others, be receptive to feedback, be able to read the room. And so they're a real team player. And organizations now are looking for people, at least where I am, we're looking for people who can be team players. We can, you know, at YNCU, we can teach you how to be a lender. We can teach you how to use our systems. We can teach you, you know, our policies and procedures, but we can't teach you how to get along to others. We shouldn't have to. We can't teach you to be respectful to other employees and to the customers you're speaking to. So I think, you know, as much as you want to bring your skill sets forward, I think it's important too that you show that you are emotionally intelligent. And questions around that will come out like, tell me about a situation where something didn't go as planned. You're going to have to tell me the story concisely in order to give me context. But what I really want to know is, what did you do about it? And what did you learn from it? And so you know, if you freaked out on everybody and started yelling and screaming and slamming doors, that tells me one story. If you got upset, but you regrouped and you know, called the person back and apologized for being frustrated and, you know, this is what you learned from it, that tells me another story. So I think those would be the things. The soft skills are important as well as your technical skills.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Hilary. Well, some really good things to bring out. I like that, how to kind of read the room and understand what's going on and take some awareness to enjoy the moment. Yeah, how do we put all those fears, that anxiety aside? But that's the challenge. Avery, what are your thoughts on this topic in interviewing?
Yeah, I think coming from a recruiter perspective, for me, practice always makes perfect. I can tell in an interview when people have practiced, they put time into it versus when they might not have. There's a lot of awkward energy that comes with interviewing. I mean, it's a very vulnerable time, right, for people. So I always say that practice makes perfect. Try an interview in front of a friend, a parent, a colleague, mentor, someone. Get that awkward energy out. So when you're talking, it's a lot more, it flows a lot better. You have the details already. And then, like Hilary had said, preparedness is important too, right? When you prepare, I think the best interviews are when you can list names of the people, or you can list the company products, or you can understand some of the basic processes. And a lot of that can be found very easily online. It could just be, you know, you prepare a couple hours reviewing the website or reviewing some of the jobs they've done before. So for me, I think preparedness and practice makes perfect is the first part of getting prepared for an interview. And I would agree that hard skills can be taught, soft skills are more important, right? If you can show in an interview that you can work well with people, you really are excited, you're interested, that's going to show up well, and it's going to set you apart from potentially other job seekers as well, because it shows you really can be, work in the job, but also be promotable, right? And in the age we're in now, companies are looking for promotable people. The other part I would add in is you had commented before about, you know, it can be scary and you might not hear back from people. In the age we live in now, unfortunately, that does happen more often, right? You might not hear back from people or jobs that you've applied to. It's tough. I think an important thing to realize is that one, you're not alone, but also follow up and follow through are super important. I'll give a quick story. We have lots of people that apply for our jobs, and when we place a person in the job, there might be 3 or 4 people who are very good for it as well, but maybe the 3 people didn't get it. That is, don't lose hope there. That's not your last job opportunity, and it's most definitely not the last interview. I had a gentleman who was great for the job, but someone else got it because they had a little bit more skill and experience. It does happen. But this gentleman said, okay, I understand, you know, thank you for your time. And he kept in contact with me. So every couple of days he reached out, and it was very quick. He didn't ask me for updates. He just said, hey, checking in, hope you're doing well. And because he did that, he stayed top of mind. And within 2 weeks afterwards, we were able to find him a permanent career, right? And so I think the follow up and follow through is so important because we get busy, right? We're people, right? I'm reviewing hundreds, thousands of resumes and talking with people. But if you keep top of mind and you're skill based, again, you're using that human forward approach to kind of help people, that's going to really help you in your job search. So again, to kind of encapsulate it, I think practice makes perfect in the first part of the interview. Focus on soft skills, and then at the end of it, follow up and follow through. You're going to get a job, you will, but make sure you're following through with that.
Excellent, excellent. You know, it's interesting. You both mentioned about the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, being able to make that connection and have the follow through. And those are some of the top needs that we're seeing across Canada with employers and industry, even on a global scale as well. Those are the top skills that employers are looking for, not so much the hard skills. Those things can be taught. But that's kind of what got you in the door for the interview in the first place, right? So now I think a lot of employers, recruiters, HR professionals are looking for how are you a good fit for the organization. I know there's a lot to dive into when it comes to smart job hunting, but I do want to ensure that we leave time to open the floor for questions. So I'll try to fit in 1 or 2 more questions for our panelists. And my next question relates to effective networking strategies. I mean, networking. I mean, the Georgian Alumni Network is a great example. I mean, how does this play into accessing opportunities and exploring things? So, Avery, how important is your network when it comes to searching for your next opportunity? I kind of smile because you're part of my network. I see, we're kind of connecting and commenting on one another's posts from time to time. And when you see a role that you think would be a great fit for, someone, what are the norms? What are the norms when it comes to like utilizing LinkedIn and other social platforms to create connections prior to applying?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is that networking is probably one of the first steps I would do, right? Your network kind of builds the opportunities that you have, right? So if you're not networking, you should start it. There are different ways you can do it though, right? There's always a networking opportunity for every person, whether that's in person, that's virtual, that's through an online platform. Networking is going to open up opportunities to you. I don't remember the exact statistic, but a lot of jobs have referrals now. Most jobs, I think it's like 70 to 80% are referrals from other people because we know good people, right? So if you can create a network, whether that's one or two people or more, right? It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but finding those quality people in your network is going to really help you. I think some of the best tips that I could say is I'll list it. Number one is start with a clear goal. I think having a clear goal is going to help you kind of identify the networking opportunities you should be in, and then using your time well in those networking places. Number two is always to craft your elevator pitch. I mean, and networking, you need to have like a 10 to 15 seconds, who I am, what I do. That's going to really help you say, I'm Avery, I'm from this, I'm a manager in talent solutions and manufacturing. I work in recruiting and human resources. That's going to help people say, oh, I remember, Avery from this. Your elevator pitch is going to help build those opportunities. And then I would always leverage the online platforms, right? LinkedIn's a great one for engaging. It's pretty hard with jobs because there's so many applications. You can still absolutely find work on LinkedIn, but I would say for me, at least personally, LinkedIn is a better engagement with people. You can engage with recruiters, engage with HR managers, engage with people in companies. And then for going back to in-person, attending industry events. Right. I think where some of my successes come from is actually doing that, attending some of the industry events, whether that's a job fair, whether that's a company event. I remember one time I was applying to a job and I decided to go to a company event and just say, hey, I'm Avery. I saw this job I'm interested in. And they kind of took that as, wow, he came to an event that most people wouldn't. That's a great sign. So I think attending industry events is super important. And then 5 would be joining professional associations. There's free ones. You don't have to pay for it. There's the, Young Working Professionals Associations, specific job associations. Reach out, right? They have a lot of value add that they can do and a lot of information that will help kind of streamline you a little bit better. And then 7 and 8 for me are kind of the same. Maintain those relationships. That's the follow up and follow through. Stay in contact, whether it's once a week or if it's a close person once a day. Pick a timeline and just follow up with them. And 8 is always be authentic. I think where a lot of people get lost is they try to fit into what they think someone's looking for. They're not looking for that. They're looking for you, or they're looking for how you are yourself. So be as authentic as possible. If that one job doesn't work out, there's going to be one that's going to be a great match for you and you're going to find that career. But being authentic absolutely will shine through. And that's where people will see who you are and what you bring to the table.
Amazing. That's great. Wow, I love that list. Can you send that to us? Yeah. Yeah. I think about the authenticity of building relationships and the connections within your professional networks. And, it's not the kind of thing where you say, hey, can I have a relationship in this capacity? Right. But if you're authentic and you're showing interest in that person and where they're going and the challenges and the opportunities and the things they're facing, well, they're also going to express that back. That's the sense of the authenticity. So glad you brought some of that out. Hilary, what's some advice that you would give to candidates looking to build their network?
Sure. So I love what Avery said. Would love that list, Avery. I think there's a couple of things I would just add on. Finding a job and networking is important, but relationship building is something that you're going to do forever in your career. And so like Avery said, you meet people through these events and you build relationships. You get a job and you're interacting with stakeholders. You want to build relationships. You have a team, you want to build relationships. And so I think it's important, the follow through that Avery mentioned, and being genuine and building the relationships. They may not help you today or tomorrow or next year, but I can't tell you the number of times I've picked up the phone to someone I haven't talked to in a while, or reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, we're doing this. What do you do? And get support and advice. The other area that I just want to touch on is, for lots of you on this call, you may be thinking, oh my God, networking is the last thing I want to do. I too, I'm an accountant, I'm an introvert. And so, as much as it doesn't feel like something you want to do, it does get easier the more you do it. So like anything, it's muscles you have to engage. So I would just say, start small. You don't have to start in large groups and, with lots of people, but start small, test your elevator speech as Avery described, build some relationships and things will take off from there, but it does get easier.
Yeah. Trying to push past some of those anxieties and challenges you might be facing can, in doing that and building that network, can actually come back with some great opportunities and connections for you. My final question will be kind of a quick one from my end, but maybe more from your end, Hilary and Avery. Any final words of wisdom to leave our group with when it comes to making yourself an all-star candidate to recruiters in 2024? And it's interesting that, we put this question here to you as, recruiters and trying to be an all-star candidate. And yet, the number one question that is asked in post-secondary education of career services is, how can I stand out? How can I have that competitive edge? So it kind of is, going both directions here. Hilary, any thoughts and words of advice?
Well, obviously technical skills are important. I mean, you've got your education and are you reading? Are you taking additional courses? Are you aware of the latest trends in whatever industry you're in? But I think for me, more of what stands out is enthusiasm. You can tell when people are being genuine. You can tell through an interview process whether they're going to be a good team player. I think, a willingness to put in some effort to go through the process, I think stands out, whether it be the resume, whether it be in the interview. I think that those soft skills, again, demonstrate the soft skills, the willingness to follow up, the willingness to listen to what the job is really about, the willingness to share genuine examples in your career that that will show that you've got the goods to do the work. And the team player is just, I can't tell you how important it is in this day and age to show that you can be a team player and that you can build people up and help the organization, help the team to succeed.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Oh man, I'm like, I gotta take some notes. This is good. I like this. This is just even helping me and trying to think, how can I use this in bringing that forward with everyone that we're talking with. Avery, what are your thoughts on this topic?
I think for me, to really stand out, it kind of boils down. It's a lot of pieces, but it boils down into three really big things. The first one is preparedness, right? Being prepared for the interview, like we talked about, researching the company, looking at jobs, just kind of getting prepared for the interview itself. And then the second one for me is kind of related to the technical skills and also the hard skills. Look at your value add. Right? People have job experience, but there is some value you bring or that you brought to past jobs that you should absolutely then highlight in that interview, right? Again, whether that value add is you brought more products, you increased something, an efficiency, or you did something. Find out what that value add is and add that in. That's going to help you stand out. You're not talking about, I did X and X and X as a job. You brought this value to that job and it helped the company or helped an individual. And then the third one is focus on your soft skills, right? I think, again, that's the practice makes perfect. If it's something that's a little bit awkward, something that you're not used to, again, practice, right? Whether it's a couple of times or a lot of times. When I was younger, I had a lot of social anxiety, right? But now I don't have as much. And the only reason I did is because I practiced so much over and over and over for years, right? So it's a muscle. Like Hilary had said, you have to practice that muscle. So I would say that practice makes perfect. Work on your soft skills, work on your authenticity too, and just make sure you are who you are, right? Don't try to change that. You're going into a job to bring your own value. So when you go into an interview, work out that awkward energy and then work out that, bring your value and just be authentic, be yourself. That's going to shine through.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. That's great. I think there's some great themes that are coming through the different areas that we're looking at, whether it's the resumes, whether it's, how we use the AI interviewing or how to stand out, right? We're seeing some themes here that are coming out, folks, around how to be authentic and how to use those soft skills and how to tie it all together. I like that point about, what's the value add that you're bringing in the process and that enthusiasm. We hear so much that of the importance of that, yet that's not necessarily going to come through just some text, right? So, and we're talking about people, human resources. So let's get back to that. Looks like we do have a bit of time here for some questions, for one or two questions. If you do have a question, please use the Q&A button and we'll try to get answers to a few of the questions within our allotted time. So I'm just going to take a look here and just see what kind of questions are coming in. So it looks like here we've got a question, Hilary and Avery. Is it okay to apply to a job that I don't necessarily meet the qualifications for? Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Go ahead, Avery.
Okay. Yes, I think absolutely you can. It really depends on the job. How do I explain? It depends on the job itself, right? So if you're, for example, in my work, I work in manufacturing. If we have a machine operator job, but we have a specific level up from that job, let's say it's a specific machine or they're looking for more experience, absolutely you can apply to it. You just need to bring that value add again, right? So it's how you can build into that role, how you're trainable, how you want that long-term opportunity. Never let 3 to 5 years of experience stop you, right? Ever. I think those are templates that we use to find people within that frame for experience. But if you're under that and you believe you can provide that value or be trainable, absolutely apply.
I completely agree. I don't think I would be where I am today if I didn't apply for jobs that I didn't meet the skill sets precisely. So I think it's important. And again, as Avery said, the value add. Show that just because you only have, 2 years experience, this is what you can bring to the table.
Sometimes too, I wonder if it's within the interpretation, of looking at those qualifications and saying, okay, well, I mean, maybe if it's not so much on the technical side, but more on the soft skills where, like say, for an example, the employer indicates excellent communication skills. Well, someone may say, well, I don't have excellent communication skills. Well, compared to what, right? So it's not like, oh, do you have, this particular course or this kind of certification in XYZ? No, it's, how do you relate to that, right? So it might be a bit in the interpretation. The second question here is, I've applied to multiple jobs and I haven't heard anything back. What can I do? Now, it's interesting. This is the way the question's coming in. And yet, in talking with students and grads, in the work that we do, they will say, you know, I have, you know, 50, 60 applications out in the last month or two, and I haven't heard anything back. What is going on? What can I do? This is a great question. I get this quite often. Who wants to start off with this one?
I can start.
Please.
So again, a great question. I think that, first of all, I think the summer is a tough time to look for a job. So, I mean, we're coming to the tail end now, but I think it's tough. People are on vacation. It's hard to get an interview panel together. Even if you did get an interview panel together and you hired someone, the interviewees would have to not be on vacation. And then, you know, if you hired them, is your onboarding team or trainers available through vacation too? It's just terrible. So let's assume it's not summer. I wouldn't be afraid to follow up and just say where I'm at. But read the posting. If the job doesn't close for 3 weeks, it's too soon today to follow up. Maybe wait a little bit. Again, you know, the talent acquisition market has changed in the last year. And, you know, I can talk about, you know, in 2021, when we were posting roles, we might get to maybe 3 applications. And those same roles now we're getting 700, 800. It takes time to go through those applications to find the ones that you want to shortlist. And so as hard as I know it is, patience is a virtue. But also I think you should follow up and ask, you know, where are things at? When could I expect to hear? Again, show your enthusiasm, show, you know, you're excited about the role.
Excellent. Excellent. Show your excitement, showing enthusiasm. Avery, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of what Hilary said already, but don't ever be afraid to kind of change your approach as well. I think one thing we get kind of stuck in with job searching, and I'm thinking back to when I was searching for jobs, we get so stuck in, you know, this is the way it should be, this will work. And maybe sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay, right? That's not a problem. Don't be afraid to adjust it, right? If applying for jobs isn't working, maybe it's time to do some mentoring, or maybe it's time to join some professional groups, or maybe it's time to just simply change the strategy on job posting. And don't be afraid to, don't lose hope. I think that's the big one here. Job searching has never been easy, and it's definitely harder now than it probably has been in a long time. What that means is there's kind of a quantity over quality as well, but the quality is still super, super important. I think that's where the value add comes in. Try to find the value you bring. When I was applying for jobs, I had to apply to 85, I still remember 85 jobs, and at 85, I got 5 interviews and then 2 offers. Right? So 85 times I had to apply. That was over the course of 2 weeks. And that was with a strategy in place. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a numbers game. It's tough, right? Don't lose hope. But if you build your strategy in place and you provide your value add and change your strategy, you're going to find work. You will. But yeah, I think the biggest part there was don't be afraid to change your strategy.
Right on, right on. So we've got time just for one very brief question, Hilary and Avery, if you can give us just like a 30-second, you know, bite on this one. But what happens if you are applying for a job where the expectations are not clear? So for an example, they haven't listed the salary expectation, or they haven't listed if the work is either remote or in person, like those kind of expectations that you're kind of feeling a little anxious about. You might be going into the interview, you might be going in the process. You don't know these things. Where do you ask that question? How do you bring that up? Just your brief thoughts on this one, because you don't have much time left.
I would just say, you know, if you get called for an interview, ask the question right then when you're talking to them. Nobody wants to waste time. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our own time when we're interviewing and hiring. So if we tell you the salary and whether or not it's a hybrid role and it doesn't meet your expectations, then you can withdraw your application at that time. And then we can move on and you can move on. But I wouldn't be afraid to ask.
Amazing. Thanks. Avery?
Mine's similar as well. I think don't be afraid to ask, even before the interview. I think if you get a job board and you get an interview and it's super unclear, just ask, right? You have their email, you have their information, just say, hey, John, I was unclear about this in the job posting. Just want you to be sure. I want to make sure this is what we're looking for. This is my expectations, or does this meet what I'm looking for? You'll get an answer, right? Hilary had exactly said it. We don't want to waste our time. You don't want to waste yours. The job generally needs to be filled pretty quickly. So just ask those expectations beforehand.
And to kind of couch that, a little bit with what you do know. Hey, I see this, I realize that, and of course, in Avery's case, you can always ask Avery, because he's sort of the agency that works with the employer. Right. So he can be of some great help. So, wow, this has been good. Thank you so much, Hilary, Avery. Wow, some great conversations. I like the way that you interacted with each other and overlapped some of the points around that. So I don't think we have time to get to a lot of the other questions that have been coming in here, but keep them coming. Maybe we can touch on those again in another future session. I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you to all for joining us today virtually. Sean, Hilary, Avery, thank you so much for sharing your in-depth knowledge and expertise on job hunting in 2024 and delving deeper into the current trends within the world of recruitment. We truly appreciate all that you do for our global alumni community. To all of our alumni watching, please remember your alumni team has a range of resources available to you to advance your professional network. Visit georgiancollege.ca/alumni to learn more about these services. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for watching the Alumni Speaker Series.